Now the webinar has begun, and we can confirm that it's going over to our live connection. There we go. And we are live on multiple platforms here. Let's double check that by going into a couple of these platforms and making sure that everything looks okay. From the live events perspective, there we are. Perfect. We're live here. And let's share some content. So we've got something shared here. Let's do a vertical PowerPoint. Now, the thing I ran into was vertical PowerPoints shared in PowerPoint Live seem just fine, but they don't seem to share correctly when you use PowerPoint Live for some reason. So PowerPoint Live gets really, really confused about what to do, how to share, and what that should look like. So we can fix that by doing PowerPoint Live presentations, which are PowerPoints in a browser, as opposed to in the Teams application. Bear with me while I get logged in here. Go sign in, and then we'll share this window instead, which should go out to our online environments. Nope, that's not going to work. That's the wrong way. So I need to do it from within here, this page. See if we can get that working. If not, I'll go into full PowerPoint. Let's just do it in full PowerPoint. That might be the easiest way to do this. Okay, so now we share window presentation 2. Okay, so the first thing we can do with a PowerPoint online presentation is under design, slide size, page setup. We can reverse the width and height, which will make our orientation of our PowerPoint vertical instead of horizontal. And so what this will mean is that we'll get a vertical sized canvas instead of a horizontal canvas. And let's see if the slides, there we go. Now the slides kind of pay attention to the style. And we can either widen the graphic or let's make the graphic bigger to make sure it kind of fits into our aesthetic there. And then if we close the presentation and reopen the presentation, cool example. May 27th. Hopefully, as we open PowerPoint, get that here. In our live event. Okay, so we're going to go for vertical example, May 27th. And there we've got our vertical example. Doesn't seem to have taken effect on the very first slide, but on the second slide. So do a custom title. Call this vertical video plus PowerPoint. There we go. So I can see that we're live out on LinkedIn. And let's see if we've gotten the slide updated here. So I should be sharing. You can see that we're live out on LinkedIn. See if we. Doesn't seem like it's updated this slide, so let's see if we can share that again. Get the updated slide. And I'm going to head over to. Should be sharing. Head over to YouTube to check there. See if the live video is working there. Doesn't look like it is, so let's see if we can troubleshoot that from our Restream. Offline, 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 offline. Why are you saying that you're offline? But I know you're online. Okay. Thanks, Dad. You see if that did work. Not really a sore throat, just waking up and getting phlegm out of my throat here. Trying to figure out if this went live on other platforms. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Cool, thanks. Thanks for the comments, yeah. Just having some ramen for breakfast and seeing if I can get my throat, the bugs out of it. But also testing some services from Microsoft related to maybe infographic resumes, vertical presentations. So these could be for LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, which has shorts. Obviously, TikTok is vertical by default. And there's probably several other platforms that we could look at a vertical presentation as the default. One thing that you can do with PowerPoint now is insert cameo objects. So if I insert a cameo object and turn on my camera preview, there I am within my PowerPoint in the lower right-hand corner. I can duplicate this, or I can actually put the cameo object into all slides. Let's see if that shows up here somewhere easily. Actually, I don't see it here easily. So what I can do is just copy this and then paste it into the 3 slides that I've created so far. And I can also, besides deleting that layer, I can decide that that layer goes to the back. And then what that will do is move the layer so that text or graphics, other things on the slides show up before my video does. So it looks like on Facebook, this is working perfectly fine. Let's check YouTube again. I'm not sure why YouTube did not connect. Interesting. I've got 2 YouTube profiles that I told it to go live on. Let's see if it's live on either of those. Because it looks like it worked just perfectly fine with Facebook and with, yeah, it's not working on YouTube for some reason. But all the other platforms seem to work out fine. So the idea here is that I could have vertical presentations and use these to actually record with PowerPoint and then repurpose these on the other platforms. So if I'm trying to record something for TikTok, for YouTube, for a short, for Facebook, Reels, I believe they're called, on Facebook. One of the things you can do is obviously use your phone, and you could use effects on your phone and other features. But one thing to make these maybe a little more interesting or different is you could actually use PowerPoint to make a reel that is vertical as opposed to horizontal. And the way you do that is you go to the Design tab within PowerPoint. You go to Slide Size, which is not a default, standard, or widescreen, typically how we present, and you just flip the width and the height in the full version of PowerPoint. I don't believe this works in the mobile version. However, if you switch these orientations and then you open a presentation on mobile, it will respect the vertical nature of your PowerPoint. So my friends, this is how we did that. And we are live on at least a couple platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn right now. So on the LinkedIn side, I don't know if the video ever caught up. Check over there real quick. It'll let me log in on my phone here. There we go. My profile. If it's showing up as live, it is. Okay, yeah, so we can see that I'm sharing my video and I'm sharing my PowerPoint. So there I am, everyone. In my vertical presentation, this is ideal for either PowerPoint to be used and recorded and repurposed on various social media platforms. And you can record your PowerPoint just like you would present a PowerPoint from the record menu. So there is a recording studio built into PowerPoint, which allows you to effectively record yourself giving a presentation, and then the presentation, whether it has morph effects. So we could look at the morph effect here between our two slides, transition morph. When we do the morph effect, it figures out what is the same in between two different slides. So if I move my words and my slide here and we go into presentation mode, let's see if presentation mode picks up correctly. If presentation mode picks up, we would get, or we should get the morph effect between the two slides here. Go. So it moves the objects around between these two slides. Now, if you're recording the slides would also give you the information being recorded. And so you wouldn't want to go back to a previous slide. You'd want to just continue moving forward because you're being recorded. And then when you play back the PowerPoint or you export it as a video, the timings are respected and the presentation could be then turned into a YouTube short, a Facebook reel, a TikTok post, etc. So it's pretty neat use of, pretty innovative use, I guess, of PowerPoint. And right now I'm doing a webinar from Teams, and we're taking that webinar from Teams and we're sending it out through a application called Restream. So if I grab my handy dandy pen here, we've got Restream as a platform that I've used for a while now. And Restream has a fairly new service which allows me to use RTMP, which is real-time messaging protocol. And I can send that to multiple platforms. So what I tried to do is send this to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And it looks like my YouTube channels, for some reason, were unsuccessful in accepting the live stream. But Facebook, my dad has confirmed that I'm on Facebook Live right now. So we're on Facebook Live. And then we're also on LinkedIn Live. And again, I'm using my Mac computer, so my scribbling is done with my trackpad as opposed to a iPad, which would allow me to use the touch screen. And it's a little easier to scribble or write there for me. I'm getting pretty good with the Mac version just because I've used it quite a bit. So what we should be doing here is sharing our screen, but it looks like it stopped sharing for some reason. There we go. Now it should be sharing the screen. And what you should be seeing is shortly a screen share of what a Facebook Live and a LinkedIn Live from Restream looks like and how it's configured. Now, the one thing that I found with this configuration, there we go, is that because Restream is controlling who is presenting from Teams, it's not necessarily sending that signal, that different signal or differentiated signal to LinkedIn and Facebook. So for instance, because it's only me on this webinar so far, it's easy for LinkedIn or Facebook to figure out, okay, Satya, my avatar, is speaking, and so we should show his video, we should show his screen share. Now, if somebody else in the meeting joins me in the Teams side of things, which is above Restream, so in this example, we're actually using Teams. So we'll put a T at the top. We're sending that signal to Restream, and then Restream is sending the signal to other platforms. Teams understands what's happening with who's presenting, co-presenters, different layouts, things that I can control from the team side of things. But Restream is just accepting that stream and then it's sending it to several different locations. And it can send it up to 8 locations with the license I have. So I'm sending to 2 locations now, and I have 6 other locations that I could configure. Looks like I set up my meeting for half an hour, so it's telling me I have 5 minutes left before my meeting comes to an end. And this Restream capability is something that is fairly new, and I wanted to do some testing of today in preparation for a class that I'm teaching next week, MS 721, which is all about meetings, phones, devices, and becoming a communications administrator of Microsoft Teams as opposed to just the collaboration side of Microsoft Teams. So on Tuesday, right after Memorial Day, going live, setting this up, doing some testing. This week, figuring out why my YouTube channel my YouTube channels, I have 2 of them, have decided to stop streaming from Restream is some of the stuff that I need to troubleshoot before next week. So thanks to those that have joined me live. Joseph, thanks. Thanks for confirming that you can see the video. My dad is over on Facebook, and so I don't know. Doesn't look like I can embed the chat necessarily into the stream. Chat settings, appearance, reply commands, embed in chat. Looks like you can embed the chat into the live. And it shows what that would look like. Let's launch that and see if it's embedded here. Chat is ready to display messages. So I guess I could share my actual window here. That might be a way to show you what I'm seeing here. So come over to Restream and configure, embed the stream. I launched the embedded stream here. That opened another window which says the chat is ready to display messages. And then coming over here, we can go to this post. That's my live. I can see Joseph's message. Confirming. Sometimes you can tag people in these posts. Sometimes it doesn't let you. It looks like I can. And I hit enter to send. And then if that is doing something with the embedding from a Restream perspective, I would see, I guess, some artifact on the screen here indicating that it had gone ahead and done so. So it looks like we're live on LinkedIn, and then it looks like we're live on Facebook as well. So another way to address this would be you could go to the different platforms, and from those platforms, in these posts, sometimes it doesn't let you. You could figure out how to indicate that you're live or that different people have made conversations or posts. So right now I'm on Facebook looking at the live event, sharing that through my browser. I can show you what it looks like from Restream's perspective with the chat settings and some of the options that I see here about what's going on with the chats. And then besides that, I can also get to other applications like PowerPoint.new and bring that up in a browser as opposed to in the full version of PowerPoint. So a couple different options on how to collaborate and share this information over to Teams. And then from Teams, it's being shared over to Restream. Restream is sending it to both my LinkedIn and to my Facebook account. And again, we're live on those platforms. So if you have questions, if you come across us live, feel free to ask a question. And I'll see if we can answer those live in our last 1 or 2 minutes here before I shut down our live event. If we go over to Restream, another nice feature of Restream is it sees all of the different platforms that I'm connected to, and it aggregates all of the comments and the feedback into a single chat. Now, one benefit to using Restream as opposed to Teams is that Restream has its own studio, if you will, similar to like controlling a Teams meeting. The downside to that is Restream and StreamYard, two applications, third-party applications we've used for multi-streaming to multiple platforms at the same time, is there is a guest limit. On a Teams meeting or webinar, I don't have any limits. The theoretical limit now is 1,000 participants that are interactive, and then Teams just scales beyond that with view only meeting participants. So imagine if this live event was popular enough that I had thousands of people wanting to engage, come on stage, type in their question, get their questions answered, an ask me anything type of event. So from Teams, I could run that ask me anything, have hundreds of people participate, even thousands. And then from Restream, send that Teams meeting to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you have X Premium, you need an X Premium subscription now. Twitch. There's about 50 different platforms that Restream supports sending your live event to. And with my license, I can send it up to 8 of those various locations. So this is a little bit about Restream in its interaction with you. And how it deals with the chat, the stream itself, the statistics of the chat or the stream that's being sent out from Restream. And then because it's going out to all those different platforms, I'm getting just the output of that. So if we stop sharing this window, we start sharing my screen. Now you should be able to see anything that I share on my screen, including my PowerPoint, maybe with a vertical version of my resume, my Teams webinar that I've set up with my presenter details for Satya, the CEO of Microsoft. I can add themes to my webinar. So if I wanted to add another image to this, I could add an image from Microsoft Ignite with Sharina Delfino. And then view my published site, set up my registration, and then set up my attendee status. Then I can get emails, reports, and of course, because it's a webinar, I can make sure that I'm recording the webinar as it is happening. So that's the setup for my webinar, configuration, if you will. And then I can join my webinar from my calendar. And within the Teams application, the custom streaming is how I send my webinar to Restream, and from Restream to various platforms. So this is the configuration that we just showed in PowerPoint by using a whiteboard. We're in the Microsoft Teams app, right? So we have a Teams meeting going on. And from the Teams meeting, I'm sharing my entire screen right now. So you can see PowerPoint, you can see my Teams window, you can see Restream in the browser. Whatever's on my screen, I'm sharing within the Teams meeting. Then we're sending my video, which is my avatar of Satya, and whatever is displayed on my screen, we're sending this to Restream. Now, Restream is a software product designed to stream events and send those events to multiple online live locations. And so normally you can use Restream's studio and you share from that studio, and you don't have to use Teams or Zoom or any other type of input software. You use Restream's website for that. However, what I did when I got into Restream today was, instead of saying I want to use the Restream studio to go live, I want to use Teams to go live. So I got the address for configuring the stream URL, live.restream.io/live, and then the stream key, I inputted those into the custom streaming for my Teams meeting, and this sends the Teams meeting to Restream. Restream sends it out to the other platforms. So it's a multi-step process. If I switch my camera, you can actually see me now in the video as opposed to Satya and Adela. So if anybody has questions, I could send out the link to the live event, to my webinar. So you could join from Teams. That way you can turn on your video if I allow that. You could interact, you could raise your hand, you could use the Q&A to post questions, and I could grab those questions live and send the answers to folks. But because we're live on both Facebook and LinkedIn, I could do the same thing from here over in Restream. I can monitor what's being said live within the meetings. Say thanks for watching. That message shows up from LinkedIn. If I hop over to my Facebook and find where I'm live on Facebook, I could say the same thing, thanks for watching. And then we see that message coming from Facebook. If I had my YouTube channels set up correctly, we could also see the comments from the YouTube side of things. In Restream, I also see information about how many people are live with me. I see these messages, and there appears to be a way to embed the chat. Not exactly certain how that embedding works, but it looks like it at least shows me in a real-time window the chat messages that are coming in. So if I'm sharing my screen, as I'm doing now, you can see those chat messages as they come in. And that would be a way to confirm that the messages are coming in, and share those messages with people in the Teams meeting, because I'm sharing my entire screen in Teams, as well as share the messages with people that are watching online. So I'd have a couple different ways to interact with folks from a standpoint of this meeting. So once we are finished with one or both of these live webinars, we have a Teams meeting going on right now that's being recorded, and it's a webinar. Maybe I have multiple presenters, maybe I have an agenda. From the Restream perspective, I'm sending the Teams meeting to Restream, and then from Restream, I'm sending it to both LinkedIn and Facebook. Now, one thing I could do is go into where I configured that, and I believe turn off the configuration for different channels. I could stop the Restream meeting, which then means that I'm still in the Teams meeting, or I could effectively stop everything from Teams, just saying the webinar is over, the guests are sent out, maybe with a call to action at the end, and my event then stops. But I could also say, you know what, we're going to stay live in Teams for a while, and the event that I'm stopping is the Restream connection out to the other platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, as examples. And so you have these different choices of how you end an event. The event can be ended with particular channels that are configured by looking at your chat, by looking at the settings that you have set up. And I can end an event from over in Restream. But I can also end an event over in Microsoft Teams. So if I open my Teams window here, see if we can get to my Teams window. There it is. You can see that I have an end event. And if I'm just part of the participation, and maybe I'm switching gears to somebody else presenting, I could leave the meeting, and the meeting would still stream to LinkedIn and Facebook, and people could continue on without me, even though I'm the person that set it up and configured all of these settings. So by ending the event, everything stops. The stream to the Teams meeting that's being recorded as a webinar, the webinar participants get kicked out. The event essentially stops there. And then because that is being sent to Restream and Restream is sending it elsewhere, those would end as well. Because it's like turning off the faucet. If you turn off a faucet, the water stops pouring out. If you have something you're capturing all of the water in, like a bucket or a pitcher or a bowl, if you remove the bowl, the water is still pouring out. However, the bowl no longer fills up, right? So if I put this bowl under a stream of water, I'm capturing it. As soon as I move the bowl, the water is still going, but it's not filling my bowl. If the bowl were LinkedIn or the LinkedIn and Facebook connections, by moving my bowl, I'm saying that I still want to have a Teams meeting. However, I want the Teams meeting to not be broadcast to those other locations. So that's what stop streaming here does in the lower right of Teams. It continues the water streaming, the meeting in Teams continues. However, I sever the connection with, in this case, Restream out to my LinkedIn and to Facebook. By removing those two connections, I am now effectively only streaming on Teams. And so I'd have to send you the link to the Teams meeting, or you'd have to be in the Teams meeting to participate fully, right? Because if you got this link or saw this live on Facebook or on LinkedIn, that's how you've connected in so far. By stopping the stream, I've effectively cut off those connections to you, and I have the ability to continue the meeting in Teams. So my Teams meeting, if I go to more, meeting info, has copy join information, has meeting ID, passcode, and in this case, it doesn't have phone services, so it doesn't show a phone number or a code to dial in to the meeting. but I could go ahead and put that out to LinkedIn or Facebook or elsewhere. It does look like it's showing my different YouTube channels. Can't post to some channels. Learn more. Read reply. YouTube events. It doesn't look like it's set up as a YouTube event successfully. So it sees the different channels, but apparently it doesn't like posting those. Well, it's saying it's posting those, so maybe I can go back and test, see if those are actually there somewhere, maybe just hidden within my view or my setup somehow. So if I go back to my Teams meeting, we go to custom stream and we stop streaming. That'll end our event for all of you online. Thank you for attending. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday here right after Memorial Day. Shorter week for everybody that had Monday off for Memorial Day.